The Australian Financial Review.
It's actually not the first mistake that defines you. It's actually the following subsequent actions that having much more profound impact on business, on career, on personal life. Every time when you take a big step forward, there are so many resistance, so many people, including could be friends.
Hi, I'm Sally Patton, editor of Boss from the Australian Financial Review. And welcome to 15 Minutes with the Boss, a podcast about success and failure and everything in between. And along the way, we're hoping to get some really great advice from our leaders. My guest today is Jun Bei Liu, the founder and portfolio manager at TenCap. Hi, Jun Bei. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you, Sally?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed. And thank you so much for coming into our beautiful dark studio. Now, Jun Bei, you're the founder and lead portfolio manager of TenCap, a new fund that invests in Australian shares. But until recently, you're working for another fund manager called Tribeca, where the fund you were responsible for had shares worth $1.5 billion. And that fund produced a return of 17.7% last year before fees, which is a long way ahead of the stock index. So congratulations. You must really love shares, do you?
Thank you so much. Look, I just love finding undervalued companies, and when share price goes up, I feel very excited. In a way, I always say it's like treasure hunting.
Now, Jun Bei, we've only got 15 minutes. Let's start the clock right now. My first question is about your morning routine. What time do you get up? What happens? When do you have your first cup of coffee?
I actually do wake up 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock?
That's right, 2 o'clock in the morning, only for a few minutes when I look at the US market to see what it's done. Then I go back to sleep. I do wake up again at about 5:30 and trying to stay ahead of my kids before they get up, get their breakfast, get their lunch, feed my pets. The good thing is my kids are quite big now, 14 and 11. I get them to the train station and they sort themselves out.
So when you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, can you go back to sleep very easily, even if the US has had a really bad night?
It is a struggle. I get very excited and that's why I can't sleep, because I'm thinking about all these different positions, what I could do the next day and the like. So how I should move my portfolio, how I should protect all my positions and what I should do. So that tend to be the one that kind of get me not to sleep so well. But over 20 years now, I've been doing this. Sort of I get used to that kind of anxiety and I go back to sleep. I know sleep is very important.
So do you do the breakfast thing or don't do the breakfast thing?
I didn't do breakfast for a bit, but, as I get older and especially requires a lot of energy, it's very important for me to have a lot of energy in the morning. I'm a highly energetic person. So I started doing a lot of shakes, like blueberry shake in the morning. After that, I kind of make myself a coffee as well. One of the things about funds management, you just can never have enough coffee. And the problem is we always end up having too much coffee. So sort of, I have my coffee in the morning as I go to work and then start my morning routine.
Okay. My next question is about a pivotal moment in your career. Can you tell me about a project that you worked on or a job change that you did that really changed the whole trajectory of what you were doing?
One big one is moving from China to Australia. When I was 16, that was a big one for, personal development, couldn't speak English, then learning English and all that. But professionally, really, after I had my second child, I have realized that, I'm ready to take on the next level. The Alpha Plus fund, the current fund I'm running now, that just lost the fund manager and the fund was struggling, clients was leaving. So the money was going. And at the time, it was about 300 million, that fund, 5.5 years ago. And I look at it and I thought, this is my opportunity. And I went around to saw all the existing client at the time, say, let me have a go. I've got enough experience. I've covered all the market. I know all of that. Let me have a go. This is my chance. Surprisingly, that 300 million clients, they all stayed. And since then, I grew that fund into over 1.5 billion, which is now I took over completely into my new business. Pivotal moment is really that moment that just want to prove people wrong.
Did it take you a long time to settle into that role?
I almost feel like I never really fully feel comfortable 100% because I always feel it's such an honor that I still surprised to me today why those clients followed me. Every day I worry. I remember, especially the first couple of years, I felt, I can't let those people down. I can't let those clients down. It's their super fund. It's their client super fund. They need to answer to their client. If I can't deliver what I promised that I'll deliver. So for me, I can't fail. I can't fail. I can't let those people down. I do everything I can, find the smartest people, find the right tool, and do everything I can to deliver those performance for them as I promised.
I love that. My next question is, what is the best piece of career advice you've ever been given?
I think the best career advice is, people always say, don't let them tell you can't do it. Every time when you take a big step forward, there are so many resistance, so many people, including could be friends, not really out of malicious intent. It's really just telling you that they think you're not capable of doing and they're scared that you might fail. Don't let people tell you can't do it.
So when you set up the current fund, TenCap, did people tell you that you couldn't do it?
Absolutely. The whole time, every step the way. But look, I think that's what growth is. Personal growth and professional growth is about knowing what we're comfortable with and continue to expand and take it to the next level. I always feel if you're not moving forward, you're kind of moving backward.
So I guess also in your job, as well as in your career, you must love learning because you're constantly learning about different stocks and different companies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love learning. And I think natural curiosity is a very, very important part of finance, the investing market, or any job, really. I find it very fortunate to do what I do. Every company is different. Learning about all the AI not very long ago was all about talking about Trump, if he, what is he going to do and the tariff and all that. And, a few years ago, we were all medical experts. We're talking about COVID. And I just think we're very, very fortunate to be able to be in the room with the smartest people, whether it's regulator or the experts, the politicians sometimes, and also ultimately those smart people that set up those amazing businesses. And we're just learning so much from them and all from very different sectors. I think it's just fascinating.
Okay. So you sound pretty busy in your job. Do you take breaks? Do you rest sometimes? And if you do rest, what do you do for rest?
Oh, absolutely. So I love exercise. I find, especially when you have a very stressful and anxious day, exercise is fantastic to really bring focus back. I love to do hot yoga. And
right.
It's incredible. You just sweat it out. And then all that stretching really de-stress the body because, when we're stressed, we tend to hold the position in one spot for a long time. And, I get back pain and others. But if I start doing my yoga, it's fantastic. I sometimes go for a run. I do it after work. I don't do it on the weekend. Whichever day I can sort of find it, make it work. It's just fantastic for the body and for the mind.
That is the end of our first section. We're going to take a short break, but don't go away. When we come back, we're going to open this really beautiful chatterbox. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to 15 Minutes with the Boss. I'm here with Jun Bei Liu, the founder and portfolio manager at TenCap. Now, Jun Bei, as mentioned previously, this is our chatterbox section. In front of you, as you will see, is this really beautiful, shiny brown box, inside which are today, I would say, about 15 questions. I'm going to ask you to pick out one by one, and we'll answer some more questions. Yay, let's go. Have a fish in the box.
I'm super excited. Okay, let's see.
Let's see. Okay. Tell me about a time when you failed at something. How did you recover and what did you learn?
As a share market investor, you fail all the time. We make mistakes. You learn from it and then you get better. And it's almost the only way you can move forward is to make mistakes. Experience of recovering from it is really about, first of all, what I do is that recognize what has changed. What is the new information that I didn't expect? Because in the share market, there's a lot of things that's unexpected. And so share price moved the wrong way. Once we work out it's my mistake, the question is review that. how did I make that mistake? Why did I make that mistake? Is it because I was too, I don't know, behavioral bias, too greedy, too fearful what has happened? And then next day, I think the hardest thing is that not to be influenced by the mistake I made the day before for the share market investor. The best outcome is that make the mistake, learn from it, go home, exercise, refresh, next morning wake up, as if nothing's happened except the learning you have got from that mistake. And then you start the day afresh. So that's kind of what we do almost day in, day out from a lot of those mistakes.
So you don't want to be fearful the next day, which would stop you from doing something or making a key decision the next day.
That's right. I almost feel, it's actually not the first mistake that defines you. It's actually the following subsequent actions that having much more profound impact on business, on career, on personal life.
So did it take you a long time to learn not to be fearful the next day, to try and make it into a one-day mistake, not a multi-day mistake?
It does take a really long time to practice, but I think with my personality, which is I'm very optimistic, so I tend to wake up feeling, here we go again, let's start this day afresh, see what's possible, and then bring the learning across. So probably personality counts, but it's just many years of practice. Don't let some of those things that weigh you down. Really, it's about future. It's not about the past.
Right. And hot yoga helps in the meantime.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Let's have another fish in the box. In your experience, what is the best way to get a promotion?
I always feel the best way is to get yourself known, to always speak out in any meeting, just so that people know that you're in the room and know your thoughts. One of the earlier mistakes I made when I was younger and before, I had the opportunity to take on the role and become more senior is that I often hide behind people. And I always feel my English is not very good, that I don't understand people's jokes, so I tend to hide behind everything. I hardly ever finish my sentences in those days. And I just sort of become very quiet in the meeting room. I hardly ever said anything. Really, if you, just as I had kids and everything else, I realized that, you know what, I need to step up. I need to speak about my view because I have a view, and then ask questions when I feel, I don't quite understand. And then also be more vocal about what I think, what I want for my career. I think I become quite vocal, and that's important because a lot of time, the bosses don't really know that you're keen to get promoted or whether you're keen for what you do or whether you love what you do. So I think definitely speak out, be passionate about what you do, speak about your view and let people know that you're interested to grow.
So how did you train yourself to do that? Did you set yourself for a target and say, I'm going to speak out in at least one meeting a day or one meeting a week to start? Because it's hard to go from nothing to everything, right?
That's right. I think it's a combination. You give yourself little milestones. This meeting, I have to ask a question. Gradually, you build the confidence, but knowing the difference in ourselves is actually what makes us unique and what actually gives us the leg up. But certainly, ultimately, it's just simply about, asking questions, speak out in a meeting and don't let some of those, worry about how other people feel about you drag you down.
So when you first started doing that, speaking out, did you create a debate? Did you ever think, I wish I hadn't said that?
I actually received really positive feedback. So people almost like, oh, she's in the room. So positive feedback. Rarely have I got negative feedback. It's really just myself. A lot of time it's ourself punishing, our own performance. So I say something and, other people are great. And then afterwards I always thought, I shouldn't have said that. That sounds really silly. And, why did I do that? So I still get that even today. Even after I go on big stage, say with the Song Hearts and Mind or AFR or TEDx talk, afterwards, I always feel, what was I doing? I must sound horrible and all of that. You can't help it. But I think I just watch it and then let it go. And if it can propel me forward, it's great.
Okay. It's very good advice. I love it. Have another fish in the box. Let's go. Okay. What's the most common piece of advice that you think is actually BS?
Yeah, so I think I've repeatedly received this piece of advice throughout my life. Why don't you just dreaming the things that's more realistic, just happy with what you have. And, and that advice has been told to me since I was very small, constantly just dream something that's more realistic. Yeah, so for me, that's that advice doesn't work. It's really come from the people who's trying to protect me and trying to, help me through their own lens. And to me, it's something I'm glad I didn't quite listen.
That is actually in itself very good advice. Dream big would be your response to that.
Yeah, that's right. Dream big.
Don't dream small, dream big. I love that. Okay, on that note, that is the end of our Chatterbox section. Congratulations. You've passed with wonderful colours. I've got one more question to ask you, and that is, if you were not the portfolio manager at TenCap, what would you be doing?
Look, if I wasn't managing people's money, I'd want to have my own talk show.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Look, because I really just love what I do in terms of investing, understand companies and all that. Very strong opinion about what I think the what the outcome might look like. So yeah, no, I always thought that might be the case.
So would you have a talk show where you had other guests who would come on?
Absolutely, because that's my way of really still learning from those smart people, people who's from different industry, whether it's companies, regular, everyone. Absolutely.
And do you think it would be a general entertainment show or more of a business show?
It'll be a business show. I think, my background is business and it is finance. And I want people to understand business not boring. It's very interesting and it's fascinating. And most of all, you get to meet all these smart people, incredible people with incredible experience. They actually, it's not just business, it's entertainment, it's everything.
So who would be some of the top picks as your guests and why?
Wow. Okay. So I think some of my top pick will be, some of those, most successful, fast growing businesses, here in Australia and they're overseas. Whether, I think these are great companies or not, but it's just the fact they started those businesses, is incredible testament to their ability to convince investors to bring everyone along.
So people like Mike Cannon-Brookes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially their interest outside their own business, what they intend to do in changing the world.
On that note, Jun Bei, our 15 minutes is up. I've loved so much chatting to you today. I love the way that in order to get a promotion, your advice is to speak up, make yourself heard, don't hide under a bushel, get out there and speak your mind. I love the fact that you're really passionate about what you do. You're keen to grow. And in fact, curiosity is something that clearly propels you ahead. I love the idea that the first mistake that you make is not the problem. It's often the subsequent mistake. So the advice there being reduce your mistakes to just that first one. And also dream big. Don't be content. Don't listen to people who tell you just to be content. Dream big. On that note, thank you so much for allowing us to spend 15 minutes with the boss.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to everyone for listening. If you like the podcast and would like to hear more, consider sharing the podcast or writing a review, as it helps us to reach more people. And follow us wherever you get your podcasts. At the Financial Review, we investigate the big stories about markets, business and power. For more, go to afr.com and you can subscribe to the Financial Review, the daily habit of successful people, at afr.com/subscribe. This podcast was hosted by me, Sally Patton, and produced by Lap Fan and Martin Peralta. Our theme is by Alex Gow, our head of podcast is Lap Fan, and the head of premium content is Fiona Buffini.
The Australian Financial Review.